Good afternoon, everyone. I decided it's time to share another video with you. I've come up with I'm doing a little mermaid cocoon, baby mermaid cocoon, and I thought I would like to decorate it with some starfish and some other things. So I'm going to show you today actually how to make a little 5-point starfish. And I've got a larger one here, I've got a smaller one. And what we're going to do today is we're going to do the larger starfish, and then I'll just show you, it's just a count issue that makes the smaller one. The procedure for the two is exactly the same. And what you're going to need to do this project is you're going to need a long loom with an adjustment. And what you need is you need 10 pegs. I've yet to find a 10 peg round loom. So I got this little adjuster for my long loom, and we're going to make sure that we have it set so that we're working with 10 pegs. So we've got 4, 8, 9, 10. You don't use these pegs, you only use these pegs. So now what we've got is we've basically got a 10 peg round loom. So you're going to need that tool. You're going to need your loom hook, and then you're also going to need a tapestry needle. And those are the tools that you're going to need, and then obviously some yarn. I'm actually going to combine a blue yarn with a silver yarn, and we're going to do a little combination of these colors. I don't know how this multicolor blue yarn is going to turn out, but we'll give it a shot. And I figured I might as well make a video while I'm doing this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our two yarns together. And we're going to make a slip knot with our two yarns. Make sure I'm in camera view here. There we go. So we're going to make a slip knot with our two yarns, like so. And then we're going to take our yarn and we're going to put it down through our peg and slide it onto our holding peg. And then you can go ahead and snug that up a little bit if you want to. Alright. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a drawstring cast on, and we do this by going around one peg inside the next, do the outer, do the inner. We're going to go around this peg. We're going to skip our outer peg right here, and we're going to continue this zigzag. And then we're going to get to this peg, and we are going to yarn over our first peg. Oops, it's hard to do at this angle, trying to film the video. Yarn over this peg. Then we're going to go all the way around and yarn over any peg that has yarn. We're going to do this, oops, sorry. And do this as a flat knit. So in other words, you place your yarn flat in front of your peg, and then you yarn over. We're going to go around this outer peg and keep continuing around our loom. Yarn over any pegs that we have the option to yarn over. You see this only has one yarn, so we can't do that. Go around, and then we're back to the front, and we're going to do one row of flat knit all the way around these 10 pegs. And I do want to tell you too, this starfish was adapted from Kristen Mangus's Picot 6-point Picot flower, and obviously starfish generally have 5 points. So I wanted to try and come up with the adaptation, which I did. But you do need a 10 point or 10 peg loom. So if you have this little tool, which I found this on Amazon, and I think a pair of them was about $5. It was really, really cheap. And again, we're just going to continue our flat loom here. Go all the way around one time. Like so. So we've done a drawstring cast on, and then we've done a flat knit all the way around the loom back to, this is peg 1, this is peg 10. So we've gone all the way around and we end at peg 10. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to cast on 3 pegs and we're going to cast off 5 pegs. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a, it's basically a, sorry, we do have to go back to peg number 1. We're going to yarn that over. It's a crochet cast on developed, oh gosh, I saw it on Kristen's YouTube's channel, but I don't know who invented it. I apologize. But basically what you do is you're going to take your yarn and you're going to look at the direction you need to go. We're working this way. This is how we've been wrapping. Now we're going to work backwards. We're going to cast on backwards. So you take your yarn and wrap it in the direction that you're going to be moving. Put your hook up through the bottom, pull your yarn down and out, and then you're going to take your yarn and you're going to flip it back over the next peg. You're going to snug this up in front of the pegs, snug it up in the middle of the pegs, see if make sure I'm on camera here, and then you're going to do the same thing. All the while you're going to ignore this bottom peg. Okay, so you're going to come up from the bottom. This is really hard to do for the video. You're going to pull this down, pull both strands out because I'm using 2 colors. You're going to flip that back and over to the next peg. You're going to snug up in front of these 2 pegs and go back around the back. And then we're going to do one more, coming up from here, grabbing our yarn, pulling it down and out, and then flipping back over to this peg. So there's this 1, 2, 3 that you've cast on. Make sure I'm in camera. There we go. 3 that we've cast on. Now we're going to cast off 5, and we do that this way. We're going to, oh, Vito, my cat. We're going to come around the back of this peg. We're going to yarn over, snug it up. We're going to go to the front of this peg. Vito, please. I love you too. We're going to yarn over, and then we're going to take this peg off, move it to this peg, snug it up a little, do our yarn over. Now what we're going to do is we are actually going to wrap this peg again. This is the slight variation from the Picot. Normally you wouldn't do this. And then we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to take that and wrap it back over here. Snug it up. Then we're going to repeat with a flat knit in front. We're going to yarn over, move to here, snug this or yarn this over, snug it up. We're going to wrap again, yarn over. We're going to move to the next peg, snug that up, okay, and now we're going to cast off. This is the first peg we cast on, this is the second peg we cast on, this was the third peg. So now we're going to cast off this third peg that we added, and we're going to do that by doing a flat knit, yarning over, okay, and then we're going to move this peg to this peg. Going to, I hope I'm staying in camera view, I've been trying to pay attention. Yarn this over. Again, we're going to wrap it one more time and yarn over again. We're going to snug that up, and we're going to move it to this peg. And put it down there and snug that up. Now, those are the 3 extra pegs that we cast on. You see you've got the beginning of your starfish right here. These other 2 pegs now we're going to cast off, but we're going to do the cast off slightly different. We're going to flat knit like so. Then we're going to move this peg back to this one. Snug it up. We're going to yarn over. We're not going to do an additional wrap like we did on the first 3. We're just going to take this peg and we're going to slip it over this way. And there we've cast off 1, and now we're going to do the same with this second peg. So we're going to yarn that, move it over to here. Make sure I've got this over right. There we go. We're going to yarn over. And we're going to move this peg over and snug it up. Okay? And you can see we've got our first starfish arm formed already. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and repeat that same process 4 more times. So we're going to wrap, because we're going to move back in the opposite direction. We're going to wrap, we're going to hook and pull this yarn through, flip it backwards, snug that up in front. I'm going to go around the back. So basically you're going to take your yarn, you're going to come around the back and to the front, again in the direction that we're moving, which is opposite of our cast on. Our cast on moves in this direction, our cast off moves back in that direction. So again, the cat is in the way, so try and work around him. I'm going to come up and under, pull our yarn down, wrap it to the next peg, snug it up and go in front of the peg and then behind the peg. Come up from the bottom, pull that down and flip over to the next peg. So you've cast on 1, 2, 3 pegs. So now we're going to do the first part of our cast off of 5 pegs by, we're going to wrap this, yarn over, and we're going to go to this peg, flat knit it on the front, okay, yarn over, move this over here, oops, we're going to snug that up a little, we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to wrap it 1 more time, and yarn over again, it's really hard to do this when it's not in my lap, before we move it and cast it off to back to this peg. Okay, so let's repeat that. Yarn flat knit in front, yarn over, slide it off this peg, move it to that peg, yarn over, knit it 1 more time, and then cast it off. Okay, and then we're going to snug that up. Oops, slid it off. Tighten it down, snug it up, and then 1 more, flatten it in front, yarn over, slide it off of there. You can stretch it out while you're moving it, and we'll just go back here and snug it back up again. We're going to yarn that back over, and we're going to knit it 1 time. Okay, and then we're going to move it, cast it off to this peg, and snug it up. So there are the 3. We added these 3 on and we cast them off. Now we're going to cast off these additional 2. We're going to do a flat knit in front, move this yarn over here, snug it up, flat knit that, and then just move it back to this peg. So again, when we cast off these 3, we did an extra knit before we cast the knit peg off with the last 2 on each set of 5, we don't do the extra knit. So we're going to yarn this over, snug that up, go over and cast off. And then you're going to want to, every time you do this, you're going to snug it up in between so you get nice tight starfish legs. And you can stretch these out while you're working, or you can do it at the end. Okay, so there's 2 legs. Move cat, silly cat. Okay, so we're going to cast on 3. Again, this is our cast off direction, this is our cast on direction. Wrap the yarn in the direction that you're going around the front of the peg. Go up from the bottom, pull the yarn down, flip it over to the back of the next, over the top of the next peg, snug it up, go around the back, grab your yarn, snug it up in the middle, wrap one more time, again, go around the back to the front, ouch, and we're going to grab our yarn, pull it down, wrap it to this peg, snug that up. So we've cast on 1, 2, 3. So we're going to go around that peg, yarn over, snug it up, flatten it, go to the front, flatten it over, move this peg over here, oops, snug that up, yarn it over, and then do another wrap, knit that, snug it up, cast it off, and then make sure you snug up your yarn in between pegs. So then we're going to go front, yarn over, move to this peg, yarn over and snug it up. Then we're going to knit one time, cast that off, snug that up. Okay, one more time. Remember, the 3 that you cast on are the 3 that you do the extra knit on. I'm going to move, oops, sorry, over to here, snug that up, yarn over, one more knit, like so, and then cast that off. Okay. Alright, so now we have 2 more that we have to cast off. We're going to go in front of this peg. We're going to yarn over. We're going to take this, cast it off to this peg. These are, and then we're going to yarn over. Remember, this one we don't do the extra knit, we just move it to this peg, like so. And then we're going to move around. We're going to yarn this over, cast it off to that peg, going to yarn over, and then without doing the additional knit, we're going to move this over to this peg, and we're going to snug that up. Now, here's where things get a little bit easier. You thought I was going to say they got trickier, but here's actually where they get easier. So here's our 3rd starfish leg right here. Now, instead of casting on 3 like this, just cast on 3 over here. There's no reason to go back around the loom. You can just add them straight here, and they're a lot easier to cast off. So we're just going to come around again. Oh, the darn cat. You, I love you too. Go away. So we are going to grab our yarn, pull it down, yarn it over, snug. Again, we're going to go around back to front. Here, back to front. Okay, grab our yarn, yarn over, snug that up, go around the back to the front, grab our yarn, pull that down through and flip it over the back, snug it up. Okay, there's our 3 cast on and I'm caught. Alrighty, and we're going to do our cast off. So I'm going to just go through this process quickly. We're going to wrap, oops, yeah, yarn over, snug it up, flat knit, yarn over, cast this one off to this one, yarn over and snug it up, and then do an additional knit. That's the first one. It's cast off number 1. Be sure to snug it up in between or you'll have a really funky, loose looking starfish. Okay, flatten it in front, yarn over, move back, yarn over, 1 knit, cast off, and then snug that up. Okay, and then last one of the 3, yarn over, move that, yarn over, oops, extra knit, cast off, snug it up. Okay, those are the 3 that we cast on. 1, 2, 3. Now these are going to be our 2 cast off. So we're going to do that. We're going to slide it over to this peg, yarn it over, and slide it back. Just put it on there and snug it up. And again, we're going to go in front of the peg, yarn over, move it over to this peg, tighten it, yarn, make sure you got it all here, yarn over, and move it back. Oops, make sure I've got the whole thing. There we go. Okay, and then that's our 4th starfish leg. So here's the last one. We're going to cast on 3 and then cast everything off the same way we've been doing. So we're going to, oops, that one didn't grab very well. I'm going to get this little guy down there. We're going to flip that back, go behind, pull our yarn down, flip it backwards, go behind like so, pull our yarn down, flip it backwards. So we've cast on 3. Now we're going to wrap from the back around to the front, yarn that over, then we're going to front wrap, yarn over, slide this back to this peg, yarn over, do an extra knit, and cast off. Okay, and then we're going to go in the front of the peg, yarn over, move over to this peg, yarn over, do the extra knit, that one too, cast that off, and snug it up. And then, this is the last of the 3 we've got to cast off, so yarn over, go over here, yarn over, I don't know how my angle is, I hope this is working out, extra knit, cast off, snug that up, and now we're going to cast off these final 2. We're just going to go in front, yarn over, move this to this side, yarn over, and then we're going to grab this yarn, pull our starfish off the loom like so. And what I like to do is I like to pull a little bit of extra yarn out here and then leave my hook in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our drawstring cast on and we are going to pull it tight through our starfish, like so. We're going to pull all the little legs tight. And there you have him. And the reason that we do the extra E-wrap for those 3 cast-ons is if you don't do the extra wrap, you'll end up with starfish legs that curl up like this. So that's the reason we do the extra knit on those 3 pegs that we cast off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my scissors because I forgot to bring those in. Okay, so I've got the scissors. We're going to cut the cast off strand here, and then we're going to pull it through right here, like so. Snug it up nice and tight, and I'm going to take my tapestry needle and I'm going to run both strands through there, like so. And I'm going to take this yarn, I'm going to make sure my drawstring yarn's on top of my starfish, and I'm just going to close this up. I'm actually going to go down through the bottom, come up through the top here, okay, and I'm going to go back down through here to the back side of our starfish. He's kind of cool. He's like silver on one side and blue on the other. So you never know what you're going to get with these multicolors. Then we're just going to go to the back of our starfish, put our tapestry needle through one of these loops, and just like you're sewing a button on, you're just going to pull that right like there. Okay. And then we're going to slide it through just a couple of these loops. Oops, got his little leg caught in there. And then we can cut that off. Then we're going to take our drawstring yarn. We're going to put it through our tapestry needle. A lot of people will do this with a crochet hook. I just find it's easier on my fingers to do it with a tapestry needle. So again, we're going to snug this up nice and tight, and then we're going to go down into our starfish to the back, like so. There's your starfish. Flip him over. Pull them nice and snug. Again, we're going to put our tapestry needle through a loop back here. We're going to wrap our yarn around it and pull it through. Tie it off. Pull it snug. Then we're going to run this yarn. Hide it in the loop back here. And maybe hide it in another loop. Now what you can do too is if you're going to add this to another project, you can just leave these strings on here rather than cutting them off, and then you can tie it onto whatever project you're working on. But in the end, this is your 5-point starfish. He's about 3, maybe 3.5 inches across. Now to do the smaller starfish, it's exactly the same technique. The only difference is where this was a cast on 3, cast off 5. So cast on 3, cast off 3 with the extra knit, and then cast off 2 without the extra knit. This is a cast on of 2 and a cast off of 4. So you cast on 2 and cast it off with the extra knit, and then you cast off 2 without the extra knit. So all of these have just a single row knitted after the drawstring, so that you get a nice skinny little starfish type body rather than something that looks like a flower. So that's how you do the starfish. He's time consuming, but he's pretty simple to do. And there he is. So if you have any questions or comments, please post them here and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for taking the time to watch Vito and I make our little starfish. Have a great day.